The Defence Secretary, John Healey, says he expects the UK will spend 3% of GDP on defence by 2034.
To the UK now, and Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has announced a major boost to military spending. He's increasing the nation's defence budget to 2.5% of its GDP by 2027.
Britain's army is shrinking towards 70,000 troops while Putin reopens Cold War bases in the Arctic. And the UK just launched a military gap year for teens. This is not a drill. You thought Ukraine was over there. You thought Britain was insulated by Tridents and the Channel. Nope. The UK just published its 2025 Strategic Defence Review, and it doesn't read like a peace memo. It reads like a countdown clock. They accepted 62 separate reforms, not tweaks, reforms, 6 new munitions factories, 7,000 long-range missiles and drones, a full cyber command expansion. That's not diplomacy, that's industrial mobilization. And while Parliament debates percentages, Putin is rebuilding Arctic launch points that were mothballed after the Cold War, positioning assets closer to NATO's northern flank. You see how tight that circle just got? Britain has already sent £12.8 billion to Ukraine since 2022. That's not symbolic support, that's skin in the game. And here's the gut punch. The UK Army Chief warned the country could face a major war in as little as 3 years from 2024. That clock is already ticking. This isn't about tanks rolling through Kent tomorrow. It's about whether Britain can sustain a fight if NATO gets pulled in deeper. Baltic flashpoint, Arctic miscalculation, Black Sea escalation, and the Strategic Defense Review basically admitted this. Right now, they weren't ready for a peer conflict. That's code. Peer means Russia. Peer means China. Peer means missiles flying both ways. So what happens when a country publicly admits it needs more stockpiles, more readiness, more resilience? It means they think the probability curve just shifted. UK officials say Russia-linked actors hit British infrastructure daily with cyber attempts. Energy grids, telecoms, government systems, your Wi-Fi, your bank, your tube line. They aren't testing defenses for fun. They're mapping vulnerabilities. And here's the twist nobody likes saying out loud. The UK isn't ramping up because war is guaranteed. It's ramping up because deterrence only works if the other side believes you'll survive the first punch. And throw a second. So Britain's moving from expeditionary posture to endurance posture. Translation, this country is preparing not just to deploy, but to absorb. Absorb cyber hits, absorb missile salvos, absorb supply chain disruption, and keep fighting. In February 2026, Britain announced it would double troop rotations to Norway, from roughly 1,000 to 2,000. Cold weather specialists, Arctic warfare training, sustainment chains hardened. That's not tourism. That's positioning for a frozen flank that Russia has been militarizing for years. Let me ask you something. If this was just political theater, why invest in winterized logistics? Why expand munitions factories? Why push defense spending toward 2.6% of GDP by 2027? Because this isn't about speeches, it's about staying power. And what I'm about to show you next is where the real panic button is flashing red. Because Britain's manpower situation is way more fragile than anyone wants to admit. But that's just the beginning. Smash like if you think this is escalating faster than they're telling us. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable. The British Army is sitting at roughly 74,000 full-time troops. That makes it the smallest it's been since the Napoleonic era. Let that sink in. Napoleon had better numbers to worry about. And projections show it dipping closer towards 70,000 before stabilizing. At the exact same time, Russia is feeding hundreds of thousands through the Ukraine meat grinder. That's not a confidence boost. That's a pressure point. Britain is a nuclear power, permanent UN Security Council member, founding NATO state. And its active army is smaller than some mid-tier European countries. So what do you do when your manpower pool shrinks but the threat horizon expands? You don't panic publicly. You innovate quietly. Enter the Armed Forces Gap Year. 150 young recruits starting in 2026, scaling toward 1,000 annually, marketed as leadership training, adventure, skill development. But strategically, it widens the reserve funnel. Because here's the dirty secret of modern conflict. You don't draft on day one. You precede familiarity. You normalize service. You build a bench. By 2030, Britain wants a reinforced strategic reserve structure. More trained civilians who can plug into logistics, cyber, engineering, or defense support roles if escalation hits. Not conscription, capacity. That's the play. And here's the rhetorical gut punch. If Britain believed peace was locked in for the next decade, would it be expanding youth pipelines or shrinking them? Drop in the comments on what you think. Now let's flip the stat on its head. Britain may have a smaller army, but it's pivoting toward a tech-heavy model, because this isn't 1944. You don't win modern peer conflict with sheer infantry mass. You win with precision, ISR, cyber dominance, and long-range strike. Which is why the UK Strategic Defence Review hammered on stockpiles. 6 new munitions factories, 7,000 additional long-range weapons. That's an industrial rearmament shift. You don't build missile factories for vibes. You build them because you've studied Ukraine. And Ukraine taught NATO something brutal. Wars burn through ammo faster than spreadsheets predict. Artillery rounds per day, drone attrition per hour, missile intercept rates per week, stockpiles evaporate. Britain watched that happen. And instead of hoping it won't need similar depth, it started scaling. Now imagine this, a Baltic escalation. NATO Article 5 triggered, RAF jets scrambling, Royal Navy deploying, army brigades reinforcing Eastern Europe. How long before the ammunition reserves start ticking down? Weeks? Months? That's the fear behind the factories. And if you're watching this in Manchester or Birmingham thinking, this is distant geopolitics, remember something. Defense spending climbing toward 2.6% of GDP by 2027 means trade-offs. Infrastructure budgets, tax debates, economic shifts. War preparation reshapes domestic priorities long before bullets fly. This is what preparation looks like in a democracy. Not sirens in the streets, budget lines shifting, factories humming, youth programs expanding, Arctic deployments doubling. And we haven't even touched the RAF yet, because the air war piece, that's where Britain's posture shifts from defensive to lethal. And what's being upgraded right now will decide whether Russian aircraft can operate freely near NATO airspace or get hunted. But the jet story is insane. Now we go airborne, because if Britain is serious about war preparation, it shows in the sky first. The RAF operates around 137 Typhoon fighter jets. That's the backbone. And they're not just polishing them, they're rewiring their brains. 205 million pounds poured into support contracts to keep the fleet mission ready. Another 650+ million pounds committed to upgrades. That's not cosmetic, that's combat lifespan extension. Enter the European Common Radar System, Mark II, multi-target tracking, electronic attack capability, the ability to detect, jam, and survive in contested airspace. This isn't spot the blip and fire. This is track multiple threats while counter-jamming adversaries. Ghost versus bear, stealth versus saturation. Because here's the brutal reality. Russia doesn't need to invade Britain to test it. It can pressure NATO airspace, probe Baltic corridors, fly aggressive intercept patterns, force response cycles. And if your radar can't see first, you lose first. Now add Meteor, long-range air-to-air missile integration for Typhoon. Meteor changes the engagement envelope. We're talking beyond visual range dominance. You don't see the launch, you don't see the jet, you just get the warning tone. And that matters because the UK isn't fighting solo. Typhoons routinely deploy for NATO air policing on the eastern flank, which means British pilots are often the first intercept layer, first visual contact, first escalation decision. This isn't theory, it's standing operational reality. Now let's talk F-35. The UK currently fields 34 F-35 Lightning jets. 5th generation stealth, sensor fusion, network warfare. These aren't just fighters, they're flying data nodes. They see, share, and coordinate in real time. In a peer conflict, that's the difference between chaos and coherence. Imagine this scenario. Russian aircraft push aggressively near NATO airspace. F-35s detect them before radar lock. Typhoons coordinate intercept. Ground-based systems integrate. The sky becomes a layered kill web. That's what Britain is building. Not just jets, a system. And here's the twist. Air power is fast, but readiness is slow. Jets require parts, pilots require hours, missiles require stock, which is why those contracts aren't PR fluff. They're about keeping availability rates high when pressure spikes. Because if conflict erupts, you don't have 6 months to optimize. You launch with what you've got. Now picture this: speed stat bomb, Typhoon top speed, Mach 2, F-35 combat radius, hundreds of miles, meteor engagement range extending far beyond legacy missiles. That's not regional, that's cross-theater reach, from UK bases to Baltic support corridors, from carriers to Arctic patrol lanes. Britain isn't fortifying the island, it's extending the perimeter outward. Air dominance buys time, but it doesn't protect undersea cables. It doesn't patrol choke points. It doesn't escort convoys through contested waters. For that, you need steel in the ocean. And what the Royal Navy is building right now isn't defensive, it's predatory. Now we go below the surface, because while everyone watches jets scream overhead, the real chess game is happening underwater. The Royal Navy is phasing out its aging Type 23 frigates and replacing them with Type 26 warships. These are not patrol ships, they are submarine hunters, built around advanced sonar arrays, designed for acoustic dominance, optimized to track and trail high-end nuclear submarines in deep water. You don't design ships like that unless you're planning for contested seas. And who fields one of the most capable submarine forces in Europe? Russia. Now zoom out. This isn't one-hull replacement. There's a 30-year shipbuilding pipeline targeting over 150 vessels, Type 26, Type 31, and future Type 83 destroyers. That's continuity. That's industrial tempo. That's maritime posture measured in decades, not news cycles. Because for Britain, sea control isn't optional. It's oxygen. Interrupt trade routes, the economy constricts. Disrupt energy lanes, pressure spikes. Threaten Atlantic supply chains. NATO reinforcement slows. And then there's the part that doesn't make headlines: undersea infrastructure. Data cables, energy pipelines, fiber arteries that carry global finance and military coordination. UK officials have acknowledged the growing risk to subsea assets. No missile required, no explosion televised, just interference beneath the surface. Imagine waking up to lagging financial systems, intermittent internet, energy instability, nothing dramatic, just degradation. That's the kind of pressure modern naval planners think about. Now layer this in: 7 Astute-class submarines, nuclear-powered, each capable of launching long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles. Stealth platforms that operate unseen for months. They don't announce deployments, they don't posture publicly, they exist to survive escalation. And then there's SS and AUKUS, up to 12 next-generation nuclear attack submarines planned from the late 2000s and 30s onward. Joint development, long-term deterrent posture. That's not replacement. That's strategic insurance, because submarines are second strike logic made physical. If escalation spirals, they remain. If deterrence fails, they respond. Now imagine a North Atlantic crisis. Russian submarine activity increases. NATO maritime patrol aircraft surge. Type 26 frigates deploy into choke points. Astutes reposition quietly. Carrier strike groups expand air cover. The ocean becomes layered, tracked, monitored, contested, and Britain sits at the seam between the Atlantic and continental Europe. Island geography doesn't equal safety, it equals responsibility. If NATO reinforcement flows west to east, Britain is the gatekeeper. Here's the critical shift. Naval power doesn't trend, it doesn't go viral, but it underwrites everything else. Air dominance depends on carriers. Reinforcement depends on sea lanes. Missile strike options depend on launch platforms. Without maritime control, the rest collapses. Now zoom out again. Army restructuring. RAF upgrading, Royal Navy expanding endurance. But here's the pivot. Ships and submarines are tools. What decides whether they matter is whether the country can sustain them in prolonged conflict. And that's where this stops being about platforms and starts being about production. Because the most aggressive move Britain just made isn't floating in the ocean. It's humming inside industrial complexes. And once you understand what's happening in those factories, you realize this isn't symbolic deterrence. It's preparation for sustained confrontation. Now we hit the engine room. Ships and jets are visible. Factories decide endurance. The 2025 Strategic Defense Review didn't trim around the edges. It accepted all 62 reforms, included 6 new munitions factories, and plans for 7,000 additional long-range missiles and drones. That's not symbolic. That's capacity expansion. Ukraine forced NATO to confront something uncomfortable. Sustained war burns through stockpiles faster than peacetime models predict. Artillery rates in the thousands per day, drone losses compounding weekly, air defense interceptors disappearing in bursts. Britain reassessed and chose depth. Because if escalation stretches beyond one theater, Baltic, Arctic, Black Sea, supply chains define staying power. Domestic production means shorter replenishment cycles, less dependency, more control. Now add funding. Defense spending rising toward 2.6% of GDP by 2027. That's billions reallocated toward readiness. In democratic systems, budget increases follow elevated threat assessments. But kinetic strength is only half the equation. Cyber command structures are expanding. Digital warfare units integrating directly into national security planning. Because modern conflict doesn't open with artillery. It opens with networks. UK officials have acknowledged persistent hostile cyber activity targeting infrastructure, energy grids, transport systems, government platforms, not cinematic hacks, continuous probing, mapping weaknesses. Imagine escalation abroad. At the same time, domestic friction, banking delays, energy instability, transport disruption, no explosions, just systemic pressure. That's contemporary competition. And Britain is integrating cyber resilience into war planning accordingly. Now step back. Missile production scaling, cyber defense expanding, defense budgets rising, Arctic deployments increasing, naval modernization accelerating, air power upgrading, manpower pipelines widening. This is endurance posture, not mobilization, preparation. Deterrence rests on perception. If an adversary believes you'll run out, they push. If they believe you can sustain, they hesitate. Britain is signaling depth, not inevitability. Depth. That's what Britain is building.